Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to have you here again watching Livingston's Ledger. A popular destination for New Englanders is Kimball's Farm in Westford, Massachusetts, which has a rich history that started with a dairy and milk sales and evolved into a beloved establishment known for its ice cream and family-friendly activities. To give us a fun-filled stroll down memory lane of this iconic Kimball's Farm and what it's like to be raised on a farm from the age of 4 to 90, I'd like to introduce you to the beautiful matriarch, Beverly Kimball Lamburn. Beverly, how are you today?
Oh, good, Richard. Thank you.
Good. I understand that George and Annie, your grandparents, bought this as a tavern in 1721, and from there they moved into it in 1913. It was a tavern from 1721, and then in 1913 you moved in and operated as a dairy barn, selling milk wholesale. I understand there was a rock outside that had written on it that for helping hands they had to stop here.
You're right. I never did see the rock, but I know they would stop here for a good meal and also some work.
You told me a funny story about the painters.
Oh, that was one of the men that worked here. He was painting the barn red up on the ladder, and my mother looked out and saw the ladder and the person was John on the ground and with red, covered in red, and she got worried because she thought, uh-oh, that's blood. But she went out there and it was just the red paint had spilled down.
Now,
And there's another,
Jack and Clara are your parents, right? And Annie, George and Annie were their parents, and Jack and Clara who took over from them. And Annie and Clara were school teachers that they were both also valedictorians, and they worked, expanding the business. Would you like to tell us the wedding story? How did they meet?
well, that was the very beginning when Dad was just working on the farm, and my mother was from Sabattis, Maine, and lived on a farm up there. And she went to college for 2 years to get her teacher's certificate and was a teacher in Maine for probably a year or two in a one-room schoolhouse, 8 grades, and money was very low, was very meager, so she applied to Littleton. And Littleton, she got her job at the school in Shaker Lane, and one day she came out of school, walking down to, she had a room that she rented on King Street. And my father rode up in his roadster,
Yeah.
with a rumble seat.
The rumble seat, yes, yes.
And he said, she was cute and attractive, and says, "Oh, would you like a ride?" And she said, "Oh, no, I don't ride with strangers." So my father was very persistent, and he kept checking on my mother on certain days that she would be walking. And this one day, it was raining. And he said, I think she'll accept my ride today. And sure enough. So that was history. And then they got married August 29th, 1929, up in Maine on the farm. And then they had 3 small children. Stanley, my brother, was born in 1932. My sister, Barbara, but we always called her Bobby, she was born the next year, 1933. They were 15 months apart. And then I'm Beverly, and I was born in 1935. My mother was very, very busy with the 3. And then the grandparents, Annie and George, that would be my grandparents, my father's mother and father. They lived over in Parker Village. They had a farm, and he wanted more land and a cow. So they knew that there was an auction coming up on 1908, and they came here, but the buildings were really needed lots and lots of work. It was run down, and people said, "You're crazy to buy something like this." And but there was 93 acres that came with the farm, and he wanted more land, so that was, and then he got his cow too. And so they just worked on the farm for quite a while, and
That was selling the wholesale milk.
oh yes, he was
Yeah.
he was selling at 4 cents a quart. He was making 4 cents a quart, working 7 days a week, and lots of work. And they said, we got to do something more lucrative, another business or something. And this one day, two salesmen came along, and one was selling Mr. Fry. He was selling the machinery, like the soda fountain and the cabinets, and the other fellow was selling the mix. And mix is pot, milk, cream, and butterfat content. And so then he talked to my folks to see if they might be interested in opening an ice cream stand. Of course, this was during the war, 1940, and things were rationed. Gasoline was rationed, and 110 was the only highway. And it was, I don't know, it was risky business. So they thought it over. And at the end of this was a tavern back in 1721.
Yeah.
And part of it at one end was the cabinet, like a shed, a wood shed, and like just a carriage house. And they thought, well, maybe we could transfer it and modernize that into an ice cream stand. And they kept on working. They built 3 windows for serving windows, and a platform, and eventually a nice porch on the side of the house where you could, they had picnic tables there. And they opened in April 19th, 1939. Things were still, people weren't spending money. Small cones with 10 cents, large cones with 15 cents. It was, things were tight.
And I understand at the time, banana splits were popular, but Kimball's had a special.
Right. Well, they couldn't get bananas. They were rationed. And my mother said, well, let's call it a Kimball special. And it became very popular, the 3 scoops and all the sauces. And it is still popular today for 40 cents. 40 cents. And then my father decided to advertise a little bit, and he put the farm truck out on the driveway. And this car, this is a 58 Pontiac convertible. It was brand new then.
So it was your father's way of marketing by putting the vehicles all out front, and people saw how busy it was. So they had to they'd come up the old road, and unique marketing strategies. Was it the movie?
Yes, that's right. There was the barn was, sideways, so he got a screen to show movies. And they could sit in their cars eating their 10-cent ice cream cone and free entertainment. And then another one, he hired the Littleton Farmers Swing Band, and he set up 2 wagon wheels, two wagons as a platform, and they played country music. And again, they would sit in their cars and listen to the music.
But it brought in the crowd that he needed for the business.
It started increasing, and they were getting, nice and happy because they worked hard. My dad would work till 1, 2 in the morning because they didn't have walk-in freezers or anything. They did have a 5-gallon freezer to make ice cream. And 10 flavors, I think it was. Very few flavors.
Yeah.
And then and then certain days we couldn't get milk or the mix. So after we cleaned up at night, we would, my mother would make a picnic, and my dad would put hay in the barn, the barn truck, and we went off to Willard Brook in Ashby, and we'd go swimming and have a picnic.
And you also used the truck was at one point selling corn off the back of the truck, is that right?
Yeah,
And then you had the two, who was
right, that's right.
Max and Sandy.
Oh, yes. There's a lot going on. Yeah, Max and Sandy were the two workhorses. And Dad used those for more like for logging.
I see, okay.
And things were going, considerably well. But they heard that 495 was going to be built. And they thought, uh-oh, because their business was increasing. But they thought maybe it would deter some of the traffic from coming over to 110. And they took 18 acres of my folks' land by eminent domain. But it just reversed the whole situation. People started coming more than before. So it helped to increase.
And the logging was, as they were taking the trees down to put 495 in, your father was able to get these trees and
Right. I think Stanley, my brother, he started into the sawing business, and he set up a little sawing. He cut down the trees. And it was, nip and tuck. It was a lot of work. And then I just want to explain that we had a barn cellar in the other first barn. And my brother was only 15 months older than my sister, Bobby, and they were out playing near the barn cellar. And Stanley came running in, Bobby in water. And so Dad went running out because he knew something wasn't right. And she was face down in the muck.
oh wow.
And she was blue. So Dad performed CPR and saved, but if it wasn't for Stanley. And the next day in the papers, in the headlines of the Sun, was brother saves sister from drowning. Made headlines, yeah.
Now, as we talk about the silo, as they expanded, the ice cream went over to the barn, and the silo was in the center. But through expansion, it ended up.
They had to, that was a project. They had to move the silo from the middle down to the end where the gift shop, the country store is. And I know my mother was upset when they built the silo because she said it cost them a lot, $3,000.
Yeah. That'd be a house,
Uh-oh. I don't think we should do this, but Dad prevailed and he made sure he got his silo.
So the expansion went from the small wood shed where they added a few windows and put in the picnic tables. And then they ended up moving into the barn with a few windows, and before you know it,
Right.
What happened to the wholesale milk industry? They and the cow.
Right. Well, they decided this is more lucrative, and, if I have to work 7 days a week, we'll do that. But it was, and their work ethics were very strict. They made sure us kids would work even before school. We had chores.
Right, right.
We'd hear the bus coming, and we'd stop and grab our lunchbox and get on the bus.
Wow.
But it was, you know, always something going on, a lot of excitement. We did a lot. I mean, we worked hard, but then we played hard. And it was, you know, my father used to say, it's later than you think. He would say, it's later than you think. So we said, well, we're going to plan on some trips. And we did. We did. My sister and I were very close. And we canoed 100 miles
Wow.
up the Allagash waterways up in Maine. But we had a tour guide at that point because we weren't sure where we were going.
Yeah.
So a group of us went. And then a lot of hiking, biking. Even we did a hot air balloon ride in Sedona
Wow.
because we traveled a lot in the national parks. And this was all after, you know, we worked all summer. So deserved.
Yeah.
We deserved to have a good time. And Florida.
Yeah, well, with everything that I've read and it's gone through the history, the legacy of, Annie and George and John and Clara is like something to behold because it's phenomenal. I see the work ethic. I know myself being one of nine. My father was a baker, and we had to get it. He opened up Dunkin' Donut in 1959 on Southern Artery, but we used to have to get up at 11 o'clock at night to go in.
So you know what it's like.
Yeah, and so one of nine. All of us have been working since we were 10 years old. So
You're right.
I see that beautiful work ethic, and you and your children. It's just a phenomenal thing today. You hope the young kids today.
And on Sundays, everybody worked. That was the busiest, especially if it was a nice weather. So, but this one Sunday, I said, I'd like to take off and go to the beach with some friends. So I approached Dad and I said, do you think I could take this one Sunday off? Oh, no. Oh, no. There was no way. And he said, you have to work, and it's just, so I never asked again because, hey, I had to work on Sundays. But a very close friend of ours, she would come on a Sunday and wanted just to visit, I think, but we didn't have time to talk. So, and this was Mabel. She came and just sat around, or not stood around really. And then Dad said, nobody stands, everybody has to work. So he gave her an apron, and here, take this and start working. And she kept on working Sundays, afternoons.
Wow.
And she just retired probably, I'd say 6 or 7 years ago.
Wow. So nobody could lollygag. When they stopped by, your father put them right to work.
Apron and everything. He didn't want anybody sitting around. And he said, oh yeah, no, everybody has to work or else.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was going through some of the stuff about the helping hands that come by, they stop by and they'd stop and then he said, oh, here's a meal, but you need it was a beautiful working, and that's all they needed was a meal. And so they didn't mind doing whatever chore was to have. Wow. Any other stories you'd like to share?
There's just one. My grandparents, Annie and George, they had 6 children. And then they all left because of college or school, whatever, they back to work. But she missed having a little one around the house. So she went into the Home of Little Wanderers in Boston and picked out this little boy He was 2 years old, roughly two, and he had bow legs, and he was malnutrition. He wasn't. He was kind of sickly, and anyway, she brought him home, gave him fresh vegetables, fresh milk, straightened his legs out, and he was the healthiest boy. They came out to check on him periodically from the home,
Yeah.
and they couldn't believe he was the same boy. And Roy, and Shoemaker was his name at the time, but then he changed his name to Kimball because everybody thought he was one of the crowd, you know. And so, and then he moved away to Ashby. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Well, that benevolence with regard to the Home for Little Wanderers, which I'm familiar with because my grandmother, that was her favorite charity. But that benevolence of taking care of the others, I've seen in a lot of the stuff that I've gone through in, preparing for this, that the Kimball family has had that kindness.
yes, and she was Annie. She lived up in after they moved out from here. They moved up to the little house just up the street, and I would go up, and she was just very. She'd read my palm.
Really?
Make sure that I was going, and she knew she was.
You're going to get married?
Well, that's separated. She said, I don't know, but she was very nice.
Yeah.
And but she was busy too. She was a worker at church. She was always washing dishes. We'd have church suppers at the Baptist, and she was always working there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was always, and we had farm animals. I mean, it was a good way of living, but hard, not easy.
Yeah. No. But hard work pays off in the end.
That's what my father used to say.
Yeah. You have a beautiful family and a beautiful business, but I see that the business, when I traveled through last week and I talked to just random employees, they love it here.
And back in 1982 was a bad house fire. House fire. Somebody going by early in the morning saw the smoke coming out of the chimney, and they came right in, and they got them all. They were still here.
Yeah.
In 1986,
So Michael and Peter?
Michael and
Right.
Peter, the two oldest grandchildren, there was 9 altogether, and Michael and Peter became co-owners of the farm in 1986. And they had because they were young and they had a lot of good ideas of what to do with the land.
Yep.
And they started the golf course and the bumper boats and miniature golf and pitch and putt and all those things.
Which is a sign of, the innovation, like going back to your grandfather with the cars out front and stuff like that. They expanded that. They also went to, opened up the Carlisle store, the Jeffrey, Lancaster and stuff like that.
Three other places. Yeah.
So they wanted to build the business as from what they've learned through the generations, and it seems like they succeeded.
It was humble beginnings, though. When during the war and things were rationed, it wasn't easy.
No.
And Dad would make ice cream till 1, 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And then with the freezer, he had a 5-gallon freezer. And then what was nice was on Mondays, some Mondays didn't last too long, but they couldn't get the mix to make ice cream. And so we would go up to Willard Brook State Park and go swimming, have a picnic. So that was a fun time.
You worked hard and you played hard, like you said. Yes.
But we enjoyed it, yeah. And to this day, I give my folks a lot of credit because they were hardworking, wonderful people.
Yeah.
And, this is a good tribute to them.
Right. And I think it's not only a tribute to them, but it's their legacy, you, and your son and your nephews and stuff have expanded the business in a good way, because everyone seems to, you know, there's not a lot of places where you would go and meet the employees, and nobody has a complaint. Everyone enjoys it, they love it, and you've had staff that have been loyal and have stayed here for decades.
Yes, a long time.
Yeah.
A long time.
Is there any other story that you'd like to share?
But my folks just, they wanted to make sure that we we knew hard work,
Right.
and then we could play too.
And there's no harm in it. Today, it's unfortunate you don't see, kids out playing in the street or out here. And they're all in with their devices, and it's not a good way. Hopefully, it'll go back to the work ethic that we know.
Did I tell you about Jack Schaefer? He was one of the hired men. He was out of Boston, and just a young person, but he liked the country, and he just liked coming out here summers, fresh air. And there was a little house across the street, just a little tiny, and we used to call it Jack's Shack. And that was he had a wood stove. And then one Christmas, I looked under the tree, and there was this beautiful dollhouse that he had made for me.
Wow.
It was with lights and little furniture, and it was a replica of this house. And
Of the Kimballs, the original home.
the original.
Wow. Wow.
And it was, I know it took him a long time because he was a good carpenter, and he didn't have much room to work down there. But Jack Shack, and he would come, and he even gave us a Thanksgiving dinner on his wood stove one year.
Oh, wow.
We stood up because there wasn't any room to sit, but we had turkey dinner. And then he got married and moved to Franklin, Mass. And of course, he's not around now.
Yeah.
But it was, it was
it's-
always something that we.
It's the fond memory of it.
Oh, a lot of
And
good memories.
you obviously had a good impression of him, that he would go to the trouble of building a nice, beautiful dollhouse.
And I still have it today.
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
I was so elated when I saw it because, things they were still on the tight side.
Yeah.
So I didn't get, I got nice Christmas, but not a dollhouse.
No. But what I've come to learn from all of the stuff that I've read and the research and talking to different people is what permeates to the top is the kindness that has been shown throughout the generations.
My mother was very good.
Right. And so I think that's wonderful.
She called us her girls, Bobby and I.
Oh,
I'm going to get this for my girls.
yeah. I love it.
And she, and we still go to Maine a lot,
That's good.
Of course, the farm up in Maine, they had Jersey cows. And her brother, my mother's brother, was Keith Mottram. Maiden name was Mottram. And he lived on that farm all his life, and he never went anywhere because he couldn't get the help. And he was busy on that farm. And he passed away down there on the farm.
Doing what he loved doing.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to look at it,
Yeah, he never married, but he was.
I think he was married to his farm.
So I think you're right.
I heard you used to have cows, plastic cows out in front of the place.
Oh, yeah, plastic
and whatever.
And a calf.
And a calf. And whatever happened to those?
Well,
There was a story to tell there, I know.
yeah, one night, let's see, well, it was kids fooling around, but it was in a cage on the front lawn, and Holsteins, and it was gone. And the cops were down here by what was the old Oaken Bucket, but now it's the 99.
Oh, okay.
And they looked up and they saw these cows going by, these policemen. And so anyway, they brought them back. They weren't harmed.
So they were pulling a practical joke, taking the cows, the plastic cows out front and driving them up the street.
They thought that was a big joke.
So before we close, is there anything you'd like to say?
That I just want to thank everybody. You know, it's been a good life.
This has been a wonderful experience for me, and I thank you very, very much, Beverly, for taking the time to share.
And I appreciate all the help in the years, you know, and of course it was hard times and good times. A lot of good memories.
But it all good, bad, and indifferent. It developed the characters that we have, and the appreciation, an attitude of gratitude, so to speak, for what we have and the struggles we may have gone through.
And I often wonder if Mom and Dad came back today, that they would see all these improvements and how successful it's been. And
I would say that Mom and Dad have seen it, and they see it too. And I think that spiritually they're with you, your family, all of the generations, to see that they, you know, like you say, hard times, they're there, and good times, they're there. So you have so much to be proud of.
you've been doing a lot of hard work too, so you know.
I'd like to thank, you know, Beverly, my guest here, for giving me so much wonderful information behind the scenes of Kimball's, to the point there's so much to tell that I want to go and do another episode on it. In the meantime, I'd like to thank my production crew for everything that they've done to make this work and a success. And if you like Livingston's Ledger, please don't forget to share it and like it as we go forward. God bless.